Today in the Joy of Editing, we're continuing to take a look at all of the filters inside of DxO Color Efex, and today it's the HSL filter. Stay tuned. Hello everyone and welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. Quick heads up before we dive in. Next week, I'm kicking off a Nik Collection 8 giveaway, and I'll share all the details on how to enter in that next video. So make sure you're subscribed and tuned in. Now for today's tutorial, we're looking at the HSL filter in DxO Color Efex. HSL stands for Hue, Saturation, and Luminance, and it lets you target specific color ranges so you can fine-tune things like skies, foliage, and other colors in your photo without affecting the entire image. And here's a quick heads up. If you're thinking about Nik Collection 8 or any DxO software, you can grab 15% off new purchases with my code Dave Kelly. Links are in the description and you can try any app free first. If you use my links, I earn a small commission at no extra cost to you. Thanks for supporting the channel. Well then, let's go ahead and get started. I thought I would start out with this image of some ice cream cones because we have a lot of color in here, and this will be an easy way to show you how this works, and then I have a couple more examples for you. Let me go ahead and clear this filter by clicking the X. Now you're going to find your filters over here on the left side of the interface. I have all Nik clicked on. And these filters are in alphabetical order, so you're going to find the HSL filter right here, or else you can just type HSL up here in the search bar and find it really quick. But then you've got to click the plus, and that adds it to the filter stack. Now, you can add multiple HSL filters if needed, so that's a good little tip for you. Now, notice here, we have several color swatches here. Now, the first swatch is for all of the colors, and right now you see we have hue, saturation, and vibrancy. We don't have hue, saturation, and luminance yet because you only get that when you click on the different color swatches. You see that? But when you're selecting all colors, you're going to have hue, saturation, and vibrancy. So vibrancy will just take the weaker colors and pull them up. So that's a nice control to have. And then you can adjust the overall hue of the colors in the image. Just double click these handles to reset them. And as far as saturation, you can give it more or less saturation. If you ever need to reset a filter, just come up here to the hamburger menu and give that a click. And you have two options here: reset filter, keep local adjustments, or reset filter, delete local adjustments. I'll just click on reset filter. If you want to target a certain color, just click on the color swatch. For instance, if I want to target red, I'll click on red. And you can see we have adjustments here, which I'll get to in a minute, but now we can adjust the saturation of red. So if I take the saturation off, you can see it's affecting this ice cream and this ice cream over here because there's red in there. Then if I move it to the right, we can add saturation. See that? And now the reds are getting pulled up. Double click to reset. You can also adjust the luminance, how light or dark these colors show up. By moving this to the right, you'll make them lighter. To the left, you'll make them darker. You see how that's working there? I'll double click to reset. And then you can adjust the uniformity of the color, which I'll show you a bit later on another example, where it'll make more sense. Now, if you look right here, we have this color bar, and we have a little lock right here. Right now, this is locked. The bottom handles here will adjust the feathering of the color. In other words, if I move this to the right, see how these feather out? For instance, let me do this. Let me take the saturation and shut it off. Right now we're on reds. So if I move this out, watch what happens. See more colors start to lose saturation because I'm feathering that out. And then these top handles will actually move the range. So if I move this to the right, see how the range is spreading out? Or if I take this handle and move it to the left, the range spreads out. I'll reset the filter, click on the hamburger menu, and then click on Reset Filter. This time I'll click on the blue swatch and take my saturation the whole way off, and you can see this blue ice cream has turned black and white. Now, if you click on the lock, you can unlock it, and then you can move like the graduation handle independently. You see that? On either side, and same with the color range, they'll move independently. So that's a nice thing to know. And also, if you click right here in the center of the range, you can move the entire range like this. So that can be very handy if you want to move into a different color. I'm going to go ahead and reset this one more time. And then take note, you see this little picker right here? And you can adjust the radius of how much color it's actually picking up. Right now it's set at a 5 pixel radius, but you can move this to the right. You can go up to a 50. And note when I hover over the image, you see that circle there? That's a 50 pixel radius. Now, if I lower that, it's looking at a smaller area. And then if I go down to 5 pixels, which is what I recommend, that's generally a good one. You see how it's a smaller circle. So if I click on this green ice cream, you can see it's found that range. Now again, you could use the bottom handle to transition this. These will move together when the lock's on, and then if you unlock it, you can move these independently. And that goes for the range as well as the transitions. Now, I want to show you something. I'm going to reset this filter one more time by clicking Reset Filter. You see this green swatch? If I click on it, you can see the color range right here, right? Now, if I take the saturation the whole way off, you can see, there we go. I've lost green on that ice cream right there. Let me double-click saturation to reset it. But watch what happens if I click on the picker tool and click here. Note that this swatch is green, and watch how it changes color. It'll change to the color of the ice cream. You see that right there? And the range is actually different because now when I take the saturation the whole way off, we're also desaturating yellows and oranges, as you can see right here. So if I unlock the lock by clicking on it, and now I'll move the left range handle to the right, dropping out the oranges just to fine tune this adjustment. It's important sometimes you do have to fine tune these adjustments. And now let's move on to a different example. And this time I'll actually edit the image with the HSL filter. Let's work on this image of the fox. So what I like to do is bring up the saturation in the fox a little bit. So to do that, I could click on the orange or red, but let's just cut to the chase. I'll click on the picker, and this way I'll know I'll get the right color. So I'll click right here on the fox. And now let's increase the saturation of the fox. I'll take the saturation slider to the right and add a little bit of saturation to the fox right there. Now, let's see, do we want to lighten them up a little bit or darken them down a little bit? Maybe I will darken them up just a little bit, maybe right like that. The color stands out a little more when I do that, and I think right there. Let me uncheck HSL. Here's before and here's after. That looks good. Now I'd like to bring up some of this blue color back in here, and again, I'm going to use the picker tool. This is the way I like to use this tool. I'm going to click on the picker tool and click right back in here, and I'd like to bring up the saturation in this bluish color a little bit. So let's take the saturation and I'll drag it to the right just to bring that blue up a little bit, maybe right about there. And you see this band right here, this blue band. Let's try to lighten that up a little bit by taking the luminance and let's drag this to the right. So I can lighten that up a little bit and maybe let's give it a little bit more saturation. Now, uniformity. If you take this slider to the right, you'll make all these blues more in line with each other, more uniform. So let me take it the whole way to the right. You see that? They're all changing into the same color. Or if I take it the whole way to the left, you can see this starts to look a little bit greenish and it doesn't look right. So let's take the uniformity. Now it defaults right in the center at 0. But what we'll do is move it a little bit to the right, make the color a little more uniform, not too much, but maybe right about here. Now let me shut off the HSL filter. Here's before and here's after. So a pretty nice adjustment. The HSL filter is a really good one, especially if you want to work on all the different color ranges of the image. And the picker tool makes it nice because you could pick any color that you want. And if you need to refine, you have the color range adjustments right in here. You can adjust those. But in this image, I didn't have to. If you don't need to do it, don't do it. But if you need it, you got it. And you also have opacity. If you take this the whole way off, you'll shut off the adjustment. And a lot of times I like to do that. Take it the whole way off and then just build it up slowly and stop where I think it looks the best. In this case, I'm going to leave it at 100%. So again, here's the before and here's the after. Now let's work on one more example. Now let's work on this landscape image. What I'd like to do, I want to start out with bringing out some blue saturation up here in the sky, and then we'll work in the foreground. So let's click on the picker tool and click right up in here. I think that represents that color, and let's give it some saturation. I'll move the saturation slider to the right, and I think I'll take it to right about here. Let's shut this off. Here's before and here's after. Now this mountain's getting a little too blue, so what I can do is use a control line, a negative control line to get rid of this area down here. So let's click this button right here. hold down your Option or Alt key, click and drag up, and we could take it off this area. Now, right now, it's not really taking it all off because right now, if we click this button right here on Local Adjustments, we can see the mask, and it's not targeting that area, right? But watch what happens if I take the Luminance slider the whole way to the left and the Chrominance slider the whole way to the left. And now this becomes like a graduated filter, so that's pretty cool. Click this button again to see the image back, and now I can adjust this. I can move this up or down, and I think I'm going to move it to right about here just to get rid of this extra blue in the mountain. Let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after, so I think that works out. Now, I want to work in the foreground, so I'm going to need a new HSL filter because I have a control line here blocking out the foreground. So let's come over here. And let's find the HSL filter, click the plus for the HSL filter, and we've added a new HSL filter. And now what I want to do is bring some saturation up in these grasses down here. I think that'll look good. So let's click on the picker on this HSL filter, and let's click down in here. And now let's take the saturation and drag it to the right and see how I can increase that saturation right like that. And don't forget about hue. You could shift the hue to the left or to the right and alter that if you need to. In this case, I don't want to. I'll just double click this and reset it. And now we have luminance. We could lighten up those grasses or darken them down. And I think I want to darken them down a bit, maybe to right about there. And now uniformity. If I drag this uniformity the whole way to the right, all those colors become uniform. And they don't look good, right? Sometimes you may want them a little more uniform, but in this case, I want them less uniform. So I'm going to come to the left of 0 and make them a little less uniform. Gives them a little more interest, maybe right about there. Now let me shut off the HSL filter for the foreground. This is before and this is after, and I really like that. Now let's look at an overall before and after. Come up to the top of the interface right here in the center and left click and hold. There's the before. Release the left click of your mouse and here's the after. Again, before and after. And you also have like the split screen that you could use. I like this. So there's the before and there's the after. I'll click this button again to go back to the image, but there you have it. That is the HSL filter. I do hope you give it a try because it's a very powerful tool. All right, well, there it is, everyone. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial on the HSL filter in Nic 8 Color Efex. If you found it helpful, please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that bell notification and set it to all so you don't miss the next video. And remember, next week I'm kicking off my Nic Collection 8 giveaway, so be sure to tune in for all the details and how to enter. Thanks so much for joining me today in The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. I'll see you all right here next time, but until then, happy editing.